Making the Polish dish called pierogies can be messy and a lot of work, but it's definitely worth it because they're very good and everyone always loves them. The recipe I'll be sharing with you was passed down to me from my husband's grandmother, or who we called Busha. We'll be making the cheese-filled pierogies, though there's several varieties to make. There's potato, there's cabbage, there's different dessert ones, and I've made a few different ones, but the one I'll focus on today is the cheese-filled ones. I used to make these pierogies with her, Busha, while me and my husband were dating, and then she passed the recipe down to me before she passed away. So I was blessed enough to have it, so now I try to make them during the holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas. I'll give you a list of the ingredients. I'll give you a list of the kitchen items that you'll need. I'll explain how to make them and how to cook them up, and then I think you'll be able to figure out how to eat them. For the dough, you'll need 2½ cups of flour plus some extra for dusting, 3 tablespoons of shortening, 3 tablespoons of butter plus a little bit extra for frying, 2 tablespoons of lard or sour cream, and I've chosen now I use sour cream. I guess it just seems healthier to me, though. I don't think the pierogies are healthy anyhow, but they're yummy. 1/2 cup of milk, 2 eggs, and a teaspoon of salt. For the cheese filling, you need a container of dry cottage cheese, which isn't the same as regular cottage cheese. 2 eggs, 1/2 teaspoon of chopped onions, and then I usually chop some extra ones up because I put them in the pan when I fry them up. A teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of pepper, and a teaspoon of sugar. The kitchen items you'll need are a large pot for boiling them in a frying pan, spatula, a slotted spoon, a mixing spoon, rolling pin, a cup or a bowl, whatever you choose the size to cut the dough out with. But remember, they should be about the size of a small pancake. So if you have a cup about that size or a smaller bowl, you can use that. You'll need a cheesecloth, cookie sheet, wax paper, and plastic wrap. So we're going to go ahead and make the dough. To make the dough, you're going to mix the flour, the sour cream, butter, shortening, and salt together. You mix that up a little bit, and then you add the eggs and the milk together. Make sure it's mixed really well. Then you're going to put some flour out on the countertop or table, wherever you're doing it at. And you're going to knead the dough a little bit, just till you make sure everything's mixed together. You make sure there's not a whole lot of little butter clumps in there. Once it's mixed well, I form a big ball. I wrap it in plastic wrap. I put it in the fridge for about 30 minutes just to let it chill a little bit, and it's a little bit easier to work with once you pull it back out. So usually while the dough is chilling, I go ahead and I make the cheese mixture up. Very simple. I usually take the cheesecloth, I put it in a bowl, and I dump the container of cottage cheese in there. And then I pull it up and I twist it to try to get out the excess water. So once you've done that, put the cottage cheese, dump it out of the cheesecloth into the bowl, and you go ahead and add the eggs, the onion, salt and pepper, and sugar, and you just mix it up really well. And that's all there is to the cheese mixture. So you pull the dough out of the refrigerator, unwrap it, and I usually cut it in half or so. It's easier to work with if it's not the big ball of dough. Again, make sure you sprinkle some flour down on the countertop and you roll out the amount of dough that you're working with. You're going to take whatever you've chosen to cut the dough out with and make all your little circles. And then you're going to take the pierogi, the circle that you've made, and you're going to put about a tablespoon or so of the cheese mixture into the dough. You have to kind of play with it depending on the size that you make of the circle. Depends on the size of the amount of cheese mixture you're going to put in it. So you have the pierogi. Let's say this is it. You put a tablespoon of the cheese mixture in it and you fold it over. And then you pinch all the sides together. So now you have this half moon shaped piece of dough that's filled with cheese. Again, make sure that all the edges are sealed as well as you can get them. So you go ahead and start boiling some water, and I usually make 6 or 10 pierogies up, and then I'll get some of those boiling and I just keep making the pierogies up. So I kind of am doing both of those at the same time. I usually boil it 6 or so at a time. You don't want too many in there. And you only need to boil about 5 minutes or so. They'll actually float to the top, and then you know they're done. Sometimes I kind of flip them over a little bit to get both sides. And then I take a slotted spoon and I take them out and put them on wax-lined cookie sheet just to help get the excess water out. Once you have made all the pierogies up and you've boiled them for those few minutes, then I go ahead and I fry them up. I put some butter and a little bit of onion in a frying pan. I put as many pierogies as will fit in there. It's literally 1 or 2 minutes or so in the frying pan. 1 minute, I flip them, 1 minute, just to get a little bit of brown, not much, so that it doesn't take much time to fry them up. Once you have them all fried up and you put them on a serving platter, you're done. Now you still have a mess back there probably to clean up, but again, it's well worth it. I've told you everything you need to know. I've told you what ingredients you need and what kitchen items you need, how to cook them, how to fry them. I usually make these at Thanksgiving and Christmas, again, because they are a lot of work, so you're not going to make them every day. I've been making these for probably 20 years. I enjoy making them because it brings everybody so much joy to eat them. I hope you'll be willing to give it a shot. Give this recipe a try, and I promise you everyone will enjoy them. I hope you enjoyed this, and good luck making your pierogies.